Luke Kuechly retiring. That's not some Giants-related news, but Joe Judge filling out his staff. A hell of a lot happening in New York this week. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of the Giants Brawl podcast, brought to you by the Brawl Network. As always, I'm your host, Usaid Koshal. I'm joined by my right-hand man, Anthony Rivardo. You can follow him on Twitter at Anthony_Rivardo. And this week, we've got a big announcement. We're excited. If you saw the news on Twitter earlier today, you can actually follow us on Twitter at Giants Bar. We're excited to have Mike Trainor join the crew. Mike, what's going on? We're fired up to have you on here.
There we go, man. I'm excited to be here, man. I'm thrilled. Love the Giants. For anybody that don't know me, which is probably most of y'all, I'm a Giants homer, man. I bleed blue. Whatever they say, whatever they do is good to me, man. You know, if I ever say anything derogatory about the Giants, like listen, call an ambulance because I'm having a stroke. You know what I mean? Something wrong with me. But yeah, that's me, man. Love the Giants. Go blue.
All right, you can follow Mike on Twitter at Mike Trainor MFT. That's Trainor. And then I forgot to ask Anthony how he's doing. So my apologies, Anthony. But how are you, man?
I'm doing good. I'm a little shocked by that Luke Kuechly retirement. I mean, that came out of nowhere, but I'm excited. I like what Joe Judge is doing so far, and I'm ready to talk about it.
Yeah, I think it's just like, so we're recording this on Tuesday, January 14th, and it's just been a wild week, start to the week so far. For me, been a wild week in the NFL so far as well. I mean, so we had the college football playoff game, but like Luke Kuechly retiring, man, it freaking sucks because like there's just certain players in the NFL that you look at and it's like, all right, this guy may not be on my team, and I either love him or hate him. And like Luke Kuechly was one guy that like I loved because just what he contributed to the game.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Luke Kuechly, he was a lot of fun to watch. I'll never forget that rainy game where he had 26 tackles. I mean, what an unbelievable performance. An MVP caliber player, honestly, and he led the Panthers to a Super Bowl, didn't win it, and that really sucks that he didn't ever get a Super Bowl in his career, but, it happens.
Gotta be. He had to retire because of his concussions, man. I don't know if you guys remember, but I think I was watching a Sunday night or a Monday night game. He had another concussion. It was probably like his 8th or 10th, and he was just sitting there crying, like he had tears in his eyes. Man, that's like scary to watch. Like a grown man just break down like that after a concussion. Man, I was surprised he didn't retire the day after that.
Yeah, it's like, see, anyone who's like, knows anything basic about concussions, it's like those things don't wear off in like 2 weeks, It takes like over a month to heal. So, and there's the thing with these NFL players, like, I get the leagues like trying to make the game safer and whatnot by like not targeting the head and neck area, all those types of stuff. But like, still, some of these players just want to freaking rush back after like a week and a half or like 2 weeks off,
That's
It
crazy.
is. Yeah, it's like sucks to see. But anyway, this ain't a Giants. I'm sorry, damn. See, I'm messing up as co-host today. But anyway, this ain't a Panthers podcast. We're all about the Giants here, and we're the best podcast, best Giants podcast in the Big Apple. Joe Judge, we discussed last week, like he friggin' just lit the damn world up with his awesome press conference. I know Mike's fired up about it. But Mike, real quick though, because you weren't on with us last week, just what were your thoughts on that Joe Judge press conference?
First off, it was a shock, man. I don't think any Giant fan really expected that. But I tell you, man, that press conference changed a lot of people's minds, man. He got up there. He just he talked what he wanted. He wanted the versatility of his players, which is huge. We're not force feeding a certain defensive scheme. Man, I'm pumped, man. Obviously, I'm excited about it. It could have been anybody, to be honest with you. It could have been like Ronald McDonald if he got up there and be the next coach of the Giants. I'd still love him too, man. Love the Big Blue, man. Let's go.
Yeah, and he's beginning to fill his staff out. So, like, Anthony, because you're the beat writer here, I gotta ask you, man, what do you think of all this?
I gotta say, I really do like Patrick Graham. I do live in Florida, so I'm well connected with a lot of Dolphins fans, and they were clear about one thing is that they didn't have a lot of talent on that team. We all know that, but it did get better as the year went on. The players were progressing. All of the friends I talked to made that clear. They were like, yeah, they were getting better. We just weren't a good team. And I like Patrick Graham a lot because of the versatility that he brings to the defense. he's not one of those coaches that sticks in a 3-4 and is there until the end of the year. He was running 5-2, 6-2, 4-3, 3-4. It depended on what they were playing or who they were playing that week. It changed week to week, and that's the versatility and multiple defense that I really enjoy to see out of good football teams. And I'm excited that Patrick Graham's going to be bringing that to the Giants.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it, like I just felt like that was one thing we didn't see under James Betcher at all, which like absolutely sucked. Is like Betcher was only good when he had like the pieces at his disposal. When there was no one there, like he didn't do anything. So I think like with Graham coming in, it's going to be good because like this is the right fit for Graham, and the defense, it's vice versa, goes both ways because like these guys are going to feed off each other. And now what you're going to have is like may not be a lot of talent. It's not going to be an elite defense by any means, but like if it just sees like some progression and they keep like the Eagles and Carson Wentz out of the end zone, they just play hard. Like Patrick Graham's, gonna be fun to watch. Like that entire defense.
Absolutely, Anthony's right, man. You're right, dude. They towards the end of the year, they play hard for this dude. They work at it better. I mean, if you get a coach that guys want to play hard for, I mean, that's it, man. That's a wrap. That's what you need in the NFL today. You need somebody to relate to the players.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Dolphins coaching staff and what they're doing. I really like Brian Flores, and I thought Patrick Graham was excellent too. And the Giants still don't have an offensive coordinator, but I am a fan of the quarterbacks coach hiring that they made. I like Joe. I hope I'm not saying his name wrong. I think it's Shaplinski. I think that he's a great coach. He had a big part in getting Jimmy Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett ready to become starters when they needed to be. And I think that's a really encouraging sign for Daniel Jones that this guy has got a good track record developing young quarterbacks. So I'm a fan of that hiring as well.
Yeah, that's what he needs, man. He needs to get better every year. Consistency. Keep a guy around him that's going to be there for the next 5 to 7 years or whatever it may be. I like to hire it.
Yeah, and if anything, like, I feel like Judge is building a staff that's like not just going to be about like what he wants to run, but he's also like Judge just seems like the type of guy that's like, yeah, I'll value like all my assistants' opinions. Like, what do you guys have to say? Because like sometimes, the bad teams in the NFL do this where it's like it's only the head coach who's like always calling the shots. And it's like, yeah, you're a QB coach, you just develop this guy. But I think like Judge is going to bring such a awesome outside the box approach that like this Giants team needs right now. Like this whole franchise right now, like needs a damn breath of fresh air, and like Judge and the coaching staff that he builds definitely going to provide it.
Oh, they're bringing all those ties in from New England, man. All those pieces are starting to fall into place. I mean, you guys probably heard, but Bill Belichick gave the Giants a sick review on Judge. So it's like maybe like Gettleman retires in a couple years, a year or two. Maybe Bill Belichick leaves New England. He's our next GM president, where he belongs. He belongs home. Just come down south a little bit, buddy. You know where he wants to be.
Yeah, Mike's like, yeah, a little bit of a story here, but I said, so this, getting Mike on the show has been like a couple weeks coming because we were so busy with the holidays. But when I sat down with him to do like a little mock podcast, he straight up said, he's like, yeah, I'm a giant homer. And I was like, okay, pun intended or not. But anyways, that was great and all. Did y'all watch the national championship game last night?
Sure did.
Yeah, of course. I was rooting for LSU, so I came out happy.
I'll be honest. I mean, like I like college football. It's fun to watch, but I mainly watch it because of the draft prospects. And speaking of the draft, like Tua's agent said like 2 hours before we jumped on air at 9 p.m. Eastern, saying that he's going to be ready to go by April. And I think when you look at that, that's significant because you're going to have all sorts of teams now that could like want to jump the Dolphins and trade up.
Yeah, and I think that's the ideal scenario is Tua really impresses when he starts throwing in April, and then teams just start bidding to try and get up to the 4th spot. I mean, the Giants can get a real major haul of draft picks with that pick. If the Dolphins or the Chargers or Panthers or even the Raiders, they might be looking at a quarterback too. If someone wants to move up and they've got 2 first-round picks, it's going to be hard to say no to that.
I might be with that. I mean, I think Tua's going to suck. So whoever wants to jump at number 4 and take him, be my guest. I'm hoping it's the Dolphins at 5 because then we can just go back one spot. We could get, my guy, and I know your guy that you want him too, a certain guy from Clemson that was all over the place last night. I mean, if you want to talk about him, go start it, man. I'll probably finish it, man. Love the kid.
Yeah, and just looking at the NFL draft value chart, which just NFL teams use all the time to project trades and whatnot, that's readily available for our listeners. You can find it online. Just go to Google and type in NFL draft chart. But when you look at it, that 4th overall pick, it's worth 1,800 points. And then you look at the 5th overall pick, it's worth 1,700 points. And that means that, realistically, just by were the Giants to trade back with the Dolphins and just move back one spot, they could end up getting a 2nd and a 3rd round pick in return, which honestly, with Miami's got 14 draft picks, I think they got 14. I'm not even sure because, if I could get an additional 2nd and 3rd and just have to move back one stop and still land someone like Isaiah Simmons, depending on how the dominoes fall in April. I pull that trigger ASAP if I'm Gettleman.
I want all 14 draft picks for our number 4 pick. Let's get it. Let's start that right now. With all 14.
Okay, but
to get your future quarterback, you give me 14 draft picks. I'll make that Jimmy Johnson Viking trick look.
Okay. We gotta. Oh my God. Yeah. So anyway, I think just hypothetically speaking here, would you take 14 draft picks, Anthony? Would you take 14 draft picks if it meant moving back just one slot? Especially you can tell the other team you can have Tua, right? Who's probably here's my issue with Tua is he's got the hip injury, and we know that's probably gonna come back to haunt him later in his career. I mean, we already just discussed the friggin' all-pro, probably future Hall of Fame linebacker just retired 30 minutes ago. Those injuries, there's just certain injuries that take a toll on you. I mean, there's certain ones like a broken arm or whatever, the ones that guys play through all the time. Those, yeah, whatever, But then there's other ones like the hip injury that really end up, you can be fine for 3 or 4 years, but then once you consistently get hit, it's damn, this thing's going to take a toll on you. It's going to catch up to you faster than you expected.
Yeah, Tua is a super interesting prospect because we know he's very talented, or maybe Mike disagrees, but he's talented and he's got the injury problem, but he's also playing in Alabama, and that's obviously a star-studded team. They've got talent all over that offense. He's got 4 receivers that are going to go pro and a few offensive linemen too. So it is kind of hard to gauge how good he really is and how much of a system quarterback he might be. And I think every quarterback to some extent is a system quarterback, but with Tua, there's just a lot of good pieces around him. So it's kind of hard to judge if he really is a top 5 quarterback or not.
Exactly right, man. Put me in to a jersey, and I'll throw screen passes all day for 90 yards.
Well, it's like Anthony mentioned, and these obviously that entire, I feel, that entire receiving core at Alabama, Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs, we'll get to those guys in a bit. The deal is this is that was the best 1-2 wide receiver combo in football, right? And Jeudy, obviously, you've seen people compare him to Odell. Henry Ruggs, I've seen get Tyreek Hill comparisons, but let's be real. Sometimes it's just the talent that the talented prospect that the quarterback is that makes him a surefire thing at the next level. And sometimes it's the player's just freaking benefiting off of the talent around him. And, we're not bashing Tua here. We're just saying before you get ready to friggin' put him in the Hall of Fame, be yeah, this guy for sure is going to be something big at the NFL level. There's a hell of a lot that, I feel there's just so much that's gone on at Alabama that we look at and we're yeah, this kid could be the next big thing. Hell, 3 years ago, we were freaking talking about Jalen Hurts, potentially being one of the best quarterbacks in the nation.
That's right.
Yeah, and I am a fan of Tua. I think he's going to be good, but I don't think it's as much of a sure thing as a lot of other people think for the reasons that we just mentioned.
Yeah, and, just going back to the original thing, it's so Tua is going to be healthy by April. He's gonna, I think, in like a 40-minute session, end up throwing like 80 something passes. And so if teams see that, they're gonna be like, yeah, we'll take a friggin' risk on this guy. And so it just goes back to kind of what Anthony and I like briefly discussed last week, that this guy could actually, a team like the Dolphins or the friggin' Panthers, for example, they could legitimately be on the phone with Dave and be like, yo, Dave, we got this awesome offer for you. We just want to jump like this team because we want to land Tua. So Giants are in a really interesting position.
Yeah, the only thing I fear with a potential team trading up is they might want to really trade up and go to 3. And then if someone trades to 3, then the Giants really won't have a lot of offers to trade back, because I don't think Justin Herbert's going to get top 4 pick projections. I don't think he's going to be that highly coveted. So if it ends up going Burrow at 1, Chase Young at 2, and then a team trades up and drafts Tua at 3, the Giants, they're going to land a sick prospect like Isaiah Simmons, but the trade back value isn't going to be there.
Yeah, you're right, man. Detroit, man, they're definitely the wild card in there.
Mm-hmm.
So high on Stafford, but what if they do, get that? What if they decide to get the quarterback on their own and not get back? So it definitely throws a loop into what the Giants are thinking. But whatever Dave Gettleman does, like I love, obviously. I mean, Barkley, Daniel Jones, and whoever the next stud's going to be, we're going to get a number 4. That's it.
So that see, here's the deal. Like the problem with the damn championship game last night was just leading up to the whole damn thing. I was kind of annoyed. And I was annoyed because like it just seemed like the friggin' story was, oh, Joe Burrow versus Trevor Lawrence and like first overall pick in 2020 versus 2021. And I was like, all right, that's cool. I acknowledge that. But like, there's still a hell of a lot of other like 2020 NFL draft prospects or like 2021 prospects that I look at and I'm like, you know what? That guy would be a great building block. That guy's a future star, like Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Thaddeus Moss. Those were some of the guys from LSU that I really like. But then on the other side, like you had, for Clemson, the one guy that we've all been like really raving over because like he's the next big thing at linebacker in the NFL was Isaiah Simmons. And I swear to God, like Isaiah Simmons had his best game last night.
Yeah, Simmons looked great last night, and I mean, he's just such a versatile player. He played all over the field last night like he's been doing throughout his college career. He lined up in the box, he lined up at slot, out wide, and at safety, and he's effective from every single one of those positions. I mean, the coverage ability from the linebacker position it's just insane. I've never seen really anything like it. He's like Jabril Peppers, but way bigger, like Derwin James or Jamal Adams, but larger and can play linebacker. And the Giants haven't had a good linebacker in a long time, like a very long time. So it's an obvious case of, elite talent fits a huge position of need. So that would be a hell of a pick at number 4 for the Giants.
Dude, it looked like that guy, you said it, and the versatility, he was everywhere last night. Like, he played all over the field. He was selling popcorn in the stands, like, during fucking some of the plays, man. When I see, like, 5 of them. I mean, if the Giants get an opportunity to get him, draft that dude. Now we have to start on defense, too, man. The guy was all over the place, man. I've never seen anything like him. Maybe he could even play safety in the NFL. If you want to bring him up in the boxes, we need help there, too, man.
Yeah, and I think like one of the really interesting themes that I feel like people don't necessarily catch on to over the last few years, like we saw this in 2018 when Roquan Smith was coming out of Georgia. 2019 had like some okay linebackers, no one like of Simmons caliber. 2020, you look at it, right? Like there just seems to be one linebacker every single year that you're like, hey, this guy legitimately like has the size or, is built like a safety, but hits like a linebacker. And that prospect, that thing like Simmons or Roquan Smith, like they could play anywhere in the NFL, And so Simmons, like you just watched him. I mean, Dabo did a great job just placing him all over the field.
You could single-handedly change a defense with that one player. With a big, impactful player like that, I mean, yeah, like I said, man, Giants got to grab him if he's there.
Yeah, you can change your defense, and I wrote about this week. I was comparing Joe Judge to Joe Judge's quotes to Isaiah Simmons. And Joe Judge made some really interesting quotes during his intro press conference where he was saying that he doesn't want to evaluate players by their positions and draft a linebacker or a running back. He wants to draft an athlete and evaluate them like that and see where they can fit anywhere on the field, and because that's what he did as a special teams coordinator, and he doesn't want to fit square pegs in the round holes. That's another great quote that he said, because I mean all of these things that he said were just like he was talking to Isaiah Simmons and just like saying out loud, I want this versatile player to change my defense and I can put him anywhere, and that's exactly what he would be able to do with Isaiah Simmons.
I mean, yeah, especially so Patrick Graham comes from that New England coaching tree, and you always know over there they place their linebackers all over the field in New England, and they're able to take guys like freaking Donta Hightower, Kyle Van Noy, place them all over the field, and they still have an impact. And this is why it's like Mike said, if he's there at 4, you have to grab him because he's gonna be the friggin' perfect fit for a defense that's on the rise. You have a solid front 4 there, and now if you begin building that second level and you get a guy like Simmons in the middle, it's going to change basically the face of your defense overnight. The defense is going to take another step forward because in the NFL, the best teams, the best teams have middle linebackers that are always controlling the middle of the field, and Simmons is going to be that guy in the future.
Right. We got so much young talent on that team. I don't think anybody knows truly what they got. I mean, the secondary, sure, they had some bad, games, but they showed flashes. Maybe they had to do it the way Belcher's system was wrong, because a lot of times these guys were just looking at each other like, oh, weren't you supposed to be here? I thought they just look confused half the time. I don't think they lack the talent and they suck as bad as defense. I just think you needed a guy that could come in and utilize the talent, like Ant said, know your guys. If Judge is the guy and he's going to know his players and know what they do best, utilize him that way. Don't try to make him do something that he can't do.
Yeah, and I'm happy you mentioned that with the young defensive backs, because one thing that really, really frustrated me when I was watching the Giants this season is I think that DeAndre Baker is best when he plays up close at the line of scrimmage and he's playing man coverage and pressing. But oftentimes you would see a 3rd and 3 where Betcher's lining the cornerbacks up 12 yards off the line of scrimmage. And I remember specifically against the Bills, I was yelling at my TV like, what the hell are they doing? Why are they playing off? It's 3rd and 3. Cole Beasley runs an easy slant route and picks up a key 3rd down. And I saw that all the time with Betcher's defense, and it drove me nuts.
Yeah, it was so frustrating, man. It drove me insane, where I was going for my annual physical every Monday after a Giant. It was destroying my mind. I had to be checked to see if I was okay. But I tell you, man, now I think they're getting the pieces. They get it. Get rid of the guys that haven't performed well. And Belcher, he just wasn't, man. You're right. So many frustrating calls, man. Even on offense, with the play call and with Barkley running up the middle every time, no sweeps, no screens, we need besides the defense coordinator, we need an offense coordinator that's actually going to have some kind of creativity in this offense.
Yeah, definitely. That's a key thing, is getting a good play caller, because I think the Giants haven't had one over their last 2 head coaches, and that's one of the reasons that I love the hiring of Joe Judge, because he's not going to be calling any plays. He's going to get his coordinators to call the plays, and he's going to oversee the whole thing. And I much prefer that hierarchy system than the head coach who's too focused on calling plays to understand when he needs to call a timeout and such.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and obviously Simmons is just one guy. Y'all mentioned having a creative kind of creative play caller, and that's just so important because it's the game consistently friggin' changes, and if you don't adapt year to year, you're screwed, right? And if you're not screwed in 2020, you're going to be screwed at some point down the road. And that's there's a hell of a lot of prospects I just looked at in the college football playoffs between Ohio State, Alabama, Clemson, LSU, that I was hey, even if this team trades back, because that's what we're advocating for at this point, unless Simmons falls to you, because you don't want Detroit taking him. Guys like Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, just Grant Delpit, even so many different names that you're hey, if you get your hands on one of these guys, especially one of the Alabama wide receivers. Like Judge is going to be creating plays for this guy all day.
Yeah, and I saw on Twitter today, Pro Football Focus mocked CD Lamb, number 4 overall to the Giants, and a lot of fans are going crazy on Twitter, really upset about that because they still had Isaiah Simmons on the board. And I understand where fans are coming from. Like, why would you pass up Isaiah Simmons for a wide receiver? We've got good receivers, but I'm really not that against it. I don't hate that pick that much. I think because if you look at it from the perspective of the best player available, and you look at a CeeDee Lamb or a Jerry Jeudy, I really am a huge fan of Jerry Jeudy. I think his route running is insane. And if you do draft one of those players, that's a offense that's a big weapon that changes your offense for the next decade and gives your quarterback a dependable receiver for the next decade, and they can grow together and dominate together. And I don't hate that pick personally.
I mean, I'm not exactly in agreement with the wide receiver pick. I mean, obviously, at the homer that I am, if the Giants do take him, I'm going to love him. I'll probably grab his jersey. I'll say the best draft pick ever since last year with Daniel Jones at 6. But I tell you, man, Anthony Thomas, that, offensive tackle, you put him in, next to Will Hernandez, and we're set for like the next 10, 12 years. I could get behind that too, man.
Yeah, Andrew Thomas from Georgia is like really interesting as well because like you watch this guy play and you're like, yo, this kid's got like the freaking strength and the length to be a left tackle at the next level because it's like he played in the SEC and we see it all the time. Like some of the best edge rushers and defenders, they're all from the SEC. You could make an argument for the Big Ten too, but SEC is just such a defensive-led conference. And I think like Andrew Thomas proved like all throughout 2019 and well before, like you're not gonna get the hell around me. And like I think if you can't get someone to get after the quarterback, you got to get someone to protect your quarterback.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I think Thomas would be an excellent pick there too. I think you can move Nate Solder over to right tackle. He did say that he's open to making that transition. Personally, I'm done with Solder. He's just so frustrating to me with the amount of money that they pay him to get that poor performance from him. So I'm ready to cut ties with him. And if they draft Thomas, I would like them to do that. But if they decide to move him over to right tackle, I guess that would be okay too.
They could always move Gates over to right tackle. He had like a nice couple games when he came in his rookie year. He said he could play anywhere. So if they want to throw him at right tackle, I might be with that too. He looked like he held his own.
Yeah, I like Gates. I think he played really good when he was in the lineup, and I think he's definitely one of those young players that we should keep around and progress because I think he could be a starter one day for sure.
Yes, especially with the like developmental kind of coaching staff they're bringing in right now, like Joe Judge is bringing in. I mean, it's a coaching staff that they're not the hottest names on the market, but they know how to develop. They're going to be good at developing talent because you can just tell. And so, like, you want to keep some of these younger guys around because it's like you don't know what they could turn out to be. And like 3 or 4 years down the road, when some of those guys are in line to get contract extensions, you could end up signing them to a second contract at a friggin' bargain price at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Honestly, though, like I would be sorry. I'm looking up Nate Solder's stats on this thing, right? I say you gotta, cut Nate Solder, whether it's before June 1st or after June 1st, and save yourself 6.5 million. And depending on what type of situation you're in, like take that 6.5 million, use it to add a couple like lower end like depth pieces in free agency that some of those guys in free agency that are going to be there in the second wave, they're not going to be like amazing players for you. You're not going to expect them to contribute, but at least you're taking some money and you're not like throwing it on one place. You're kind of spreading it out.
Yeah, they're a young team, man. Yeah, I think they got to sign like a couple low end like veteran guys that are good locker room guys. Because I think that's what the Giants are trying to build too, is a strong locker room. So I think they need a good blend because that was like the youngest team they ever threw out there, in at least my lifetime, and it showed. It showed. They needed some veteran leadership there.
Yeah, for sure. And I expect, with Joe Judge being from New England, I would expect him to definitely spend some of the lower end money on some, New England veterans and try and get the Patriots way in the locker room.
Right.
Interestingly enough, and I love that you brought it up, Anthony, because I think, okay, with a guy that's from the Patriots, Patriots head coaching tree, basically been around the organization his entire life. You could actually end up seeing Judge just keeping Nate Solder and hopefully turning him into something more effective. But here's the thing, we talk so much about offense, but if there's gonna be an enforcer that I want on the back end, if I miss out on Simmons, in a hypothetical scenario, give me Grant Delpit all day because like Simmons, this guy's gonna transform your friggin' defense.
Yeah, and I actually really like Julian Love as free safety, and I want to see if he can progress there. But it is one of those things where if you can get a Grant Delpit, you might want to move Julian Love back to slot cornerback because Delpit's a really talented player, and I like the idea of him and Peppers. And when you've got a good defensive coordinator who knows how to use his players, it doesn't matter. You can have three great players at one position, and the good defensive coordinator will find a way to get them all on the field at the same time and maximize their talents anyway.
Yeah, that's tough, man. Julian Love, man. I tell you, I love the way he played in at the safety position. Moving him back to nickel corner. I mean, like you said, it depends who we get. Because Antonio B back in the safeties. I mean, he didn't have such a good year. You know what I mean? So yeah, see what happens with that.
Yeah, I think so the biggest thing is that even, and Anthony, I know you brought this up a moment ago, moving, if you get a Grant Delpit or a Xavier McKinney, what happens is you have to figure out where to put Julian Love. And I think having a freaking good slot cornerback, it's just such a rare commodity in today's NFL. And so I would personally be all for the Giants getting Delpit because that allows me to move Love back to slot cornerback. And then boom, you're gonna have a legit secondary that's that they're building.
Yeah, definitely. And Grant Haley is another name that I'm going to be keeping an eye on because I liked him a lot as a rookie, and I didn't see much progression in year two from him, and it was pretty disappointing. I thought he could be the slot cornerback guy for us long term, but I'm really not so sure anymore because, as good as he was in run defense, that dude got toasted a lot out there. So, it's definitely cornerback is a position that they have to address either in free agency or the draft, and slot cornerback is of dire need. So if they do move Julian Love there, I think he's really the best player for that position that's on the roster right now.
I think they're strong, at defensive line, especially interior. Would hopefully they re-sign Leonard Williams. I love the trade last year. A lot of people don't. But he's a good run stopper. He showed that this year. Dexter, pretty much rookie of the year in my eyes. And then you got Dalvin coming in on the interior. I mean, you can't run to us. You can't run on it. Sorry. It's a wrap for you. For any running backs besides Saquon Barkley, you can't run on us.
Yeah, but see, here's the thing. There's so much talent on that Giants defense. Betcher obviously just completely effed it up, And had Betcher even been friggin' semi-decent, I think he would have a job right now. I don't know if it would be with the Giants, but this is why I'm excited for Patrick Graham. But I think so, just moving over to the offensive side of the ball, I know Slayton's basically wide receiver one at this point. But I still think you need to add someone because I'm not totally confident in Sterling Shepard. And this is such a deep wide receiver class. I think if you get a guy like T. Higgins, for example, if he's there in the second round, I think he can be an excellent complement to what Slayton's abilities are.
Slayton's a stud, man. Golden Tate's gonna be there. You're right. Sterling Shepard, man, I love him, but he's he gets hurt, man, way too much. Concussion was one thing. That's maybe, possibly a fluke thing. But he's always banged up pretty much every game. Terrific slot receiver, man. I would love to roll into the season with those three.
Yeah, I wouldn't be upset rolling into the season with those three either. I'm a big Slayton fan. I know Brad Kelly, he's associated with one of our podcasts. He was a huge Darius Slayton fan. He had him in his top 100 players coming into the draft, and yeah, he sold me on him, and I'm a huge fan of his. I mean, he showed such progression from week 1 to week 17. Well, he didn't play in week 1, but when he first got on the field, all he was running was go routes because that's all he did in college. But towards the end of the year, he was running a lot of slants and underneath routes and getting open on in and out breaking routes, and that was just huge progression. And that's definitely part of the reason why the Giants brought back receiver coach Tyke Tolbert, because Slayton, you could see clear progression from the beginning of the season to the end, and I think he's got a ton of potential going into the next year.
Ooh, 5th round draft pick, another Gettleman's man. Man. Gettleman makes all the right moves, guys. Don't listen to all the bullshit out there.
Yeah, so I probably should have warned you guys at first, right? But like, this is what makes this podcast so awesome, all right? Is like, I'm stuck in the middle on Gettleman, all right? And then like, Mike loves Dave Gettleman, and Anthony's like also stuck in the middle, but probably leans like more of I don't like Gettleman than like I like Gettleman.
Crazy. We haven't had a good draft since Jerry Reese in 2007 when he drafted Ahmad Bradshaw in the 7th round. I think that was just like lucky.
I mean, I'll agree. I think Gettleman puts together some excellent draft classes, but I think in free agency and the contracts that he hands out, they've been really bad, a lot of them. So that's where my main gripes come.
He might have messed up a couple of things.
Yeah, I think so. Like, you just throwback. What is it today? Tuesday. Yeah, today's Tuesday. But anyway, throwback Tuesday to freaking like. So we discussed linebackers earlier in the show, and I don't know why, man, but like Antonio Pierce just came to my mind. So I felt like him and Michael Strahan were my two like favorite Giants players like throughout the 2000s, man. Hands down, those guys were like OGs, and I swear, like I would love to see one of it. Like I'd love to see Strahan come back and just teach this young defensive line something.
Yeah, well, Antonio Pierce, I'm actually happy you mentioned him because today reports came out that NFL teams were looking to bring him in as a linebackers coach because he's been working as the linebackers coach for Arizona State University and has apparently been doing a pretty great job. So he's getting coaching consideration from a few teams, and man, I would love for the Giants to bring him in, get him back in the building, and get back to old school Giants football. That would be awesome.
And I would love the Giants to get Antonio Pierce and give him a uniform and have him suit up week 1. Get back out the field. And you see what he did in the Super Bowl run against Green Bay, stopping that screen? It was him against like all the Packers, and some of their fans even ran on the field to help him. Couldn't get it done, man. Love that guy. Bring him back on the Giants. We need all ex-Giants and Patriots, all that family trees. Bring them onto the Giants, man. Let's build something here.
Hey, I would be so for it, and the thing is, right, so like anyway, getting back to the topic here, because gotten kind of off topic, but like who cares, right? So like I would seriously, Anthony, you mentioned earlier friggin' CeeDee Lamb. Like CeeDee Lamb would be such an interesting pick to me because like people seem to be so split on him, It's like you got some people saying like he's wide receiver 1. You got some people saying like I think who was it that tweeted this? The YouTuber, the one who does the film breakdowns, Brett. Like I can't even say his, yeah, Brett Coleman. There we go. So I think like Brett Coleman tweeted this, and he was like, "Oh, CD might be there at the top of like the 2nd round," and I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm not so sure about that one." But, like it's gonna be interesting because like I've seen. CD doesn't have like a legit comp for me at this point, and that's what makes him so interesting. Because like he could be another guy that could like be Daniel Jones like #1 target for like the next 10 years or something.
Yeah, what I like about CeeDee Lamb compared to Jerry Jeudy, because I'm like I said, I'm a big Jerry Jeudy fan, but Jerry Jeudy played in the slot a lot, and we didn't get to see him go outside too much, but we saw a lot from CeeDee Lamb on the outside, and he showed that he can get open from the outside, and that's really what the Giants need is a dependable outside receiver, and also CeeDee Lamb makes tons of plays after the catch, breaks a ton of tackles, picks up a ton of yards, so I would not complain at all if they drafted CeeDee Lamb in the 1st round.
You're right. I could, obviously I'm with whatever they do. But I don't really know too much about the wide receivers coming out the trail, so I'll let you guys roll with that one.
Yeah, so just be warned because we got like what was it like 100 days till the draft. Well, 99 now that you're listening to this, or 98 even, depending on what day we get this thing out. But anyway, yeah, Mike's a big Isaiah Simmons stan, so he's gonna be pounding the table for him all day. But whoever get him in picks, unless it's someone like really freaking stupid, Mike will roll with them.
You'll be
You
surprised.
know.
Whoever it is, man, I got their bag 100.
Yeah, but like, okay, so it's like this offseason I feel like it's gonna be all about Daniel Jones. You got this guy last year, you gotta build around him this year. And I think like you look at a lot of the young quarterbacks that have kind of been drafted in over the last couple of years, like in the late 2010s, like 16, 17, 18. What's been the theme going into their second season and just that like second off season is build around them. Like we saw the Bears go on a spending spree to build around Mitch Trubisky. We saw the Eagles do so as well. And I think like similar things going to happen this year, but we're going to see the Giants like do it through the draft. Because honestly, like this free agency class is interesting, but I don't feel like it's going to be as loaded as some people say.
Yeah, you want to see them do it through the draft, of course, but the Giants do have a lot of money available in cap space heading into this offseason, and there's some big names that's going to be out there. Yannick Ngakoue is the obvious one the Giants fans want. I mean, we need a pass rusher, and he should hit the market unless he gets franchise tagged, and that would suck if he gets franchise tagged because I think the Giants would definitely make their move on him, and I know Yannick wants to go there. He's been posting a ton of pictures of Lawrence Taylor on his Instagram, hinting that he wants to go to the Giants, which I think is pretty cool.
It is pretty cool, man. I would love that dude to be on the Giants. I mean, we haven't had a pass rusher since LT, and I mean, I don't know how long. I mean, as long as Yannick don't want to do cocaine and start running on the field, breaking people's legs, I'm fine with that. I want the guy to stick around and play 16 games a year. I don't know too many other free agents guys. Like, who other free agents out there that could come in and make an impact with us? So, I don't know the list.
Yeah, so like, okay, obviously, in terms of like top tier talents, you got guys like AJ Green, who's 32 years old, and I don't view as like being a realistic option because he's been gone for he's been out of the league just injured for like the last 2 seasons basically. Dante Fowler Jr. may come at like a much cheaper price than Yannick Ngakoue, or he's just gonna completely friggin' cash in, and someone's gonna overpay him, because like Fowler ain't been very impressive. I mean. And then there's other guys, like as I look at this list on Spot Track here, that I'm like, oh, Derek Wolf could be interesting, like Ndamukong Suh. Someone even like, just someone to like even Eric Ebron, I think despite having Evan Ingram there, Ebron would also be like a really interesting piece to add because like we've seen Joe Judge come from an offense and a system in New England where they consistently ran like good 2 tight end sets before, like with Gronk and Aaron Hernandez, before like all the drama with Hernandez went down.
We already got the next Jake Ballard, man. That's Caden Smith. You see how Caden Smith came on the last couple games here. He played well, man. Let Evan Ingram go, man. I hate to say that, but like he's just hurt too much, man. Like he can't stay on the field. Like it hinders our offense when he's not there, and you got to plug in somebody else, man. Spend that money somewhere else, man. I hate to see him go, but it is what it is.
Yeah, if they can get a good pick for Evan Engram, I think they're going to consider doing it. Me personally, I think you should just keep him around, just try and get him healthy because he's so dynamic and can do so much for your offense. But yeah, he's not on the field enough. And I want to mention another free agent that's going to be available, and it's from a division rival, Byron Jones. I read a report today that they're not expected to re-sign him just because they can't afford it. They got to pay Dak Prescott. They just paid Zeke. They got to pay Amari Cooper too. So it looks like Byron Jones is going to be the odd man out in Dallas, and that should be a top, a top target for the Giants because we need secondary help, and that's a really talented and athletic cornerback. I think he'd be a great fit on the Giants defense.
Right. If we get him, yeah, I didn't know he was going to be a free agent like that. Yeah. Yeah, 100%, man. I would definitely take him on board to help those guys out.
And he would give like that young defensive back room. I know that like right now I'd have to say like DeAndre Baker's kind of like the leader of the defensive back room, but I think like Byron Jones would do just like in that room in terms of like leaderships. Well, like they thought Janoris Jenkins should have been doing. Like he'll come in, he's not gonna be like top dog, obviously, because Patrick Graham's gonna develop these guys, but he will like be like a second coach basically. And I think like you need that with a freaking young team. Like team as young as this, like you need a couple veteran guys in the locker room that are willing to like step up. Because let's be real, like friggin' Grandpa Nate Solder is not like the veteran, that you look to when like things are wrong. Like this guy cannot provide the leadership, but like Byron Jones, because he's been in the league for a while, like he would definitely provide that veteran leadership component that this team just seems to be missing.
Yeah, and Chris Harris Jr. is another veteran cornerback that could, really help the defense out. Obviously, he's even older than Byron Jones. He's been in the league a long while, but I think Chris Harris wants to get paid. I'm pretty sure he was saying. I'm not sure if he's interested in being on a contender as much as he is for getting paid. But he's older. He's 31 years old, but he's still really talented, and he'd also be a great signing.
Yeah, I'll take either one of them, bro. Bring them up.
So you know what the deal with Chris Harris is it's like I think they're going to have to come down to a decision in Denver because like you saw that big extension that Eddie Jackson just got, and they got to pay their own safety, Justin Simmons. And so I think like between Simmons or Harris, because Harris has been in the league for like 9 or 10 years now, I think if it comes down to, Harris Jr. versus Simmons, like I think they're going Simmons, and like Harris is going to get paid somewhere, like you said, Anthony, but like I think that's one of those like big contracts or one of the guys that you kind of pay big money to because you're going to get the return on investment ASAP. I know like Anthony, you haven't been a fan of Gettleman's big contracts, but like still, Chris Harris Jr. is one guy that I think like I would shut out the big bucks for.
Yeah, and another player, we'll just keep throwing some names out there, is Kyle Van Noy. Obviously, familiarity with Joe Judge because he's from the Patriots defensive system, and he's one of those really versatile players that plays linebacker, defensive end, rushes off the edge. So he's 29 years old. I don't think he's going to get a huge contract either. He's not like a superstar. Some people might not even know who he is, but he's a super talented player and great in run defense, can get it done in pass rush too. So if for some reason we can't hold on to Marcus Golden, if he starts commanding a little too much money, I think Kyle Van Noy would be, a really top-notch replacement.
Kyle Van Noy's going to be a free agent too, man. Man, I'm learning so much tonight, guys. I had no idea these guys. Like, let's just sign every free agent out there. Let's get those 14 drafted, and then call it a day, man. We're good. We're back.
That'll work for me.
Anyway, so we're approaching on our 1 hour limit, and we probably know that you're listening to this, and we don't want to keep this longer than an hour because that just wouldn't be ideal. But Giants, obviously they're not in the playoffs, and we've known that since November or whatever. But I feel like this week's going to be, this weekend's going to be interesting. Like me personally, I'm going to be rooting for the San Francisco 49ers just because I hate the Green Bay Packers with a passion. I don't want to see them make the friggin' Super Bowl because I don't think I would survive.
Well, I'm going to be rooting for the Niners as well, but I think the Packers are going to win. And I'm rooting for the Chiefs because I love Patrick Mahomes, and I think they're going to win too. So I think we're going to get a State Farm Super Bowl. Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes. I think it's so funny that those two, they do the commercials together and they might be playing in the Super Bowl together. So I'd definitely be excited to watch that game, though. That would be a high-scoring, fun matchup.
Hopefully gambling's not frowned upon on this podcast because I have -1 and San Fran -1 to get to the Super Bowl. So let's go, man. That's the Super Bowl I want to see. And then whatever box hit, man, I'm good.
Yeah, so here's you know what's interesting, right? So when I look at the 49ers offense, I'm like, yo, this is exactly, just because again, I watched those guys all year, right? And I watch more football probably than anyone on this podcast right now. Even more so than Mike, by the way, who probably watches every game too, but whatever,
I got 7 TVs, so they're all on at once. You know what I mean? So I mean, I love, yeah. Just go ahead, man. I can't.
I think what Kyle Shanahan built in terms of his offense right there, I feel like were Joe Judge to replicate that, like, you could build the exact same thing with Daniel Jones because, like, once you get that solid offensive line, you got your quarterback in place already, and you already have a great running back, like, and you got a good receiving core. Now, if they could get, like, a couple other pieces around there, for Danny Dimes, I feel like the Giants could legitimately be a carbon copy of San Francisco's offense.
I like to see that.
Yeah, I see that too, but there's one really key component in that San Francisco offense, and that's George Kittle. And the Giants really don't have a George Kittle. No one really has a George Kittle except maybe the Chiefs with Travis Kelce. But that dude can block like a lineman, and he can catch like a receiver. He's really truly special, and that's the problem with Evan Engram. He's an excellent receiver, but his blocking skills leave a lot to be desired. So that's why, like you mentioned earlier, I want to see more two tight end sets. I like Caden Smith and Evan Engram out there. I think Caden Smith is a pretty good blocker, so I think that's really the key to getting one of those great running offenses in the NFL right now is a good tight end.
Hey, and is Kittle a free agent too? Because I want him also.
Yeah. Yeah, so I totally forgot, right? Okay, so, and this is obviously going to be news to Mike, right? But, like, Hunter Henry, Eric Ebron, George Kittle, and Austin Hooper. I think those are, like, the 4 big fish in free agency this year.
Yeah, take all of them. We'll have a 4 tight end set. It'll be the first thing Joe does ever did in football. Create chaos. Everybody be grabbing tight ends. I'm sorry, guys.
You're good, dude. But anyway, now on the other side, right? Like,
Giant home all day.
Yeah. Anyway, now on the other side of it, right? Like, I'm rooting for. I know the Chiefs are gonna freaking beat the Titans easily. Honestly, like, as much as I hate to say it, Titans put up a great fight. They got a great defense, partly because, like, they got the linebacker. Like, that linebacking core is like the heart and soul of that Titans defense. So, I think, like, the Titans are going to keep it close in this game, but, like, Pat Mahomes is going to pull away.
Yeah, I agree. I think the Chiefs are going to win, but I'm not going to totally, rule out the Titans because they kind of remind me a little bit of the Giants in 2011 where no one expected them to even make the playoffs, and they finally got there by the skin of their teeth, and they just start taking down all these top teams and are on some magical run. And it's interesting. It's fun to watch, too. So, I mean, if I'm rooting for the Chiefs, like I said, but if the Titans make it to the Super Bowl, I'll be rooting for them, no matter who they're playing in the Super Bowl, because they kind of remind me of the Giants in a way.
Yeah, they do kind of remind me of the Giants, but you know what they don't have? They don't have O.C. Umenyiora. They don't got Michael Strahan. They don't got Justin Tuck. They don't got Jay Alford. Man, they're going down, man. Mahomes is just gonna light them up, man. Their magic runs out this week.
Oh my, dude! You mentioned O.C. Umenyiora and, like, Justin Tuck and those guys. Like, those guys were great, dude. Like, I miss those guys so much because O.C. was a G. They should never got rid of him to begin with.
I know. It's so disappointing, man.
Yeah, but anyway, so, okay, before we get out of here, right, make sure you're following us on Twitter at Giants Brawl. We got a quick ad read for you guys, too. So, as you guys know, we network our, podcast network. It's teamed up with Fanatics, so we got them as our sponsors, right? So, just use the link www.thebearsbrawl.com/fanatics. They always got some awesome, like, sales going on. Like, you could get, free shipping on orders over like $25. Be sure to check that out if you're trying to add to your wardrobe and, gonna rep guys like Darius Slayton and Danny Jones. I still got to get my Darius Slayton shirt. I'm a little late to the party, so forgive me. But follow me on Twitter at Usaid Koshal. You can follow Mike on Twitter at Mike Trainor MFT. As always, that's not Trainer, it's OR. So be sure to shoot the guy some follows because he's new on here, and the fun podcast we had tonight was just the beginning. And then follow Anthony on Twitter at Anthony_Riviro. Check out his work on Empire Sports Media as well. You guys want to add anything before we hop on out of this?
I'm happy to have Mike on. It was an awesome first episode with you, man, and I look forward to many more.
I appreciate you guys, man. It was an absolute pleasure, man. Just in case you didn't notice, got my dog here, my English Bulldog. His name is Barkley. Yes, that Barkley.
Okay.
If we ever get Saquon Barkley, I want to have him autograph my dog's leg, and we'll get him He just grabbed that on his leg. That's what it is.
So real quick, because you showed the dog to YouTube, what position do you think Barkley could play on the Giants?
Absolute running back, man. He's like, remember Brandon Jacobs, how he just ran over everybody at the 1 yard line? Like 4th and 1, just give it to him. Give it to him, man. Give him the rock all day. Get it.
All right, speaking of which, you should make Barkley like our official like podcast mascot or something,
You gotta get a shirt, man. Get a shirt size.
Oh yeah, speaking of which, we just also with so the network's also pairing up with Design Tree. We got all sorts of like cool shirts and hoodies that you can get, Be sure to check those out as well. I still gotta tweet that link out. But anyway, guys, it's 10 o'clock for you guys on the East Coast. All right. I've been up since like 7 a.m. myself. It was 44 degrees here in Chicago today, and I think it dropped to like 0. I'm gonna go have some hot chocolate. Peace out, guys. We'll see you guys next week. See you, everyone.
Bye, fellas.